All right, so the Oils still believe through 3 rounds of the postseason. They were so phenomenal on the man advantage, operating at a clip of just over 37%. But in the Cup final, the Panthers have really stymied the Oilers on the man advantage. No goals for Edmonton on the power play in 10 power play attempts. For more reaction, let's bring in our Edmonton Oilers reporter, Ryan Rishaug, and our hockey insider, Pierre LeBrun from Rogers Place in Edmonton. Gentlemen, you were both in each respective dressing room. Ryan, you were in the Oilers dressing room. Take us inside there. How's this team feeling after another tough loss in Game 3?
Yeah, well, Jay, what I'd say is they clearly took a little bit of time to compose themselves. We waited outside probably 10 minutes or so before they opened the room, and then we all went racing in there, and the room was completely empty, and we waited another 5 or 6 minutes before the players then filed out. That would be a little bit longer than normal, and it was clear, obviously, with the gravity of this moment, they needed a little bit of time to compose themselves. The common themes in there, guys, were missed opportunities, right? The Oilers had those power play chances early in this game, power play chances throughout this game, and lots of good looks, Pierre. They weren't able to convert enough, and the other common theme was the mistakes. There were huge mistakes that cost the Oilers in this game, and these were from critical players, whether it was Stuart Skinner on a mishandle. On the first goal, Evan Bouchard a mishandle at the blue line. And then a turnover here from Darnell Nurse. I mean, these are critical players, guys that play lots of minutes through a 6-minute stretch that just absolutely crushed the Oilers' hopes in this game. Barkov finishing off that play. That would have been Matthias Ekholm kind of getting caught out of position at the offensive blue line. So missed opportunities and critical mistakes.
Pierre, I feel like it was maybe like 2 years ago that you and I probably had a conversation about Sergei Bobrovsky's contract being the most untradeable contract in the league. And now you can't even imagine this guy not being on this team. He's been so great in the Stanley Cup playoffs especially. Take us inside that Panther dressing room. Like, what are these guys saying about him? Because he's been unbelievable.
Yeah, well, he doesn't talk on the morning of game days, but he did talk tonight after the game and very stoic again, and just kept talking about the fact that they got to stay in the moment. They're not trying to think about being one win away. But he is an unbelievable story. As you said, a couple of years ago, they wondered what they would ever do with that contract at $10 million a year. And now he's the hottest goalie on the planet, and he has been for a couple of years. There was a great moment in the dressing room after the game. Panthers GM Bill Zito came into the dressing room, looked to his right at Bobrovsky's stall. Bobrovsky was taking off his equipment. There were no words exchanged. Zito gave him that little nod that essentially said, "Thank you so much." And Bobrovsky smiled back up at his GM. And remember, Zito was the AGM in Columbus for many years when Bobrovsky was there. So they have a lot of shared common history. And now together, they're 1 win away from their first Stanley Cup.
And meanwhile, on the goaltending front, Jay, over in the other locker room, you had Stuart Skinner answering questions about, obviously, the play that he made behind the net. But he was very complimentary of Sergei Bobrovsky, right? He acknowledging that the Oilers are getting chances. And he was extremely complimentary towards Bobrovsky's game, and rightfully so. He's been very good, but Stuart Skinner trying to maintain that positive energy, saying he's still thankful to be here in this moment, but they're in one now.
Well, consider the road to this moment, Jay, for Sergei Bobrovsky in these playoffs. He beat Andrei Vasilevsky, arguably the guy who still has the belt in the goalie world, and then he beat Jeremy Swayman, who's had an unbelievable year, and then he beat the great Igor Shesterkin in the conference finals. So Sergei Bobrovsky has seen it all in terms of the goalie matchups in these playoffs, and he's come out on top so far.
Let's jump back into the Oilers dressing room, Ryan. We heard Stu Skinner say it. He really believed it, too. He said if any group can come back and win this series, it's the Edmonton Oilers. How much belief is in that dressing room at this point, even though they're down 3-0?
I mean, they all know the game of hockey. They all probably have a pretty good sense, Pierre, what the odds are. They're not great, newsflash. I think they know that. Do the Oilers have confidence that they can come out and win a game in Game 4? Yeah, I think that's fair to say that they have the confidence to be able to come and do that. And they have no choice but to take it. The cliche comes out one game at a time. You can't win all 4. So I think they're just going to make it super small. They're going to make the picture super small. They're going to answer the questions. They're going to be painful to ask, frankly, and painful to listen to the cliche answers. That's all you have to lean back on at this point are cliches and making the picture small, Pierre. But the odds are what they are.
Yeah, and head coach Chris Knobloch referred to their 18-game winning streak this year. And, they have the ability to put a string of wins together. Except that wasn't all against the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, with the Stanley Cup in the building.
Yeah, I mean, this is this Panthers team. You go back to 2 years ago when Paul Maurice was hired. You know, Jay, they led the team in goals. They won the President's Trophy. They blew all that up and said, we want to be the team that can win 2-1 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We want to grind out playoff wins. Completely changed their system. Everyone's bought in. Alexander Barkov may win the Conn Smythe if they win on Saturday. Maybe it's Bobrovsky. We'll see. But, you know, we talk about the two superstars on the Edmonton side. There's a superstar on the Florida side. His name's Alexander Barkov. He's having a great playoff.
And think about what they've done here, Jay. Like Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid don't have a goal in this series. The Oilers' power play doesn't have a goal in this series. That's unbelievable. I mean, everybody would think on this stage that's where those players would be able to shine. And it's not like they haven't been working hard. Connor McDavid has been playing some really, really strong hockey. They're just not able to convert. So you can't help but wonder if the Panthers aren't just that good, Pierre. You got to tip your hat to them.
Yeah, and listen, the Panthers had the second best penalty-killing numbers in the Stanley Cup playoffs entering this series. Edmonton, of course, number one. So you wondered, would that be good enough to finally slow down this Oilers power play, which is the best in the world? I think we have the answer so far.
Saturday night, the Cup will be in the building as Florida, who came into the league in 1993, will have a chance to win their franchise's first Stanley Cup. Ryan, Pierre, you guys were great. Thanks so much for this.